Okay, well, I think we did it. We are live, despite my best efforts. What just happened? Why did I get so many phone calls? What the? Okay, how many messages do you get? Like, do you get like spam messages in your phone that you had for more than
So
a
many.
minute?
I
Like,
just got one that's like some spam that was one of the phishing ones where it's like, um, they said, "I have your phone number in my contacts, but I don't know who you are because I switched my phone. Can you tell me who you are?"
some things are unknowable. I guess you never will.
I should actually respond and say, "I'm Josh Long."
No, please don't. That person already has me in their scam playbook. Uh, I've had this phone number since the 90s. I mean, literally the 90s. It's the same one. How did this thing get so spammy? It's not like I inherited somebody else's spam bot phone, like I don't give it away. I give away my email, but that's not the same thing by definition, right?
Yeah.
Just so tedious. Yeah. Anyway, you're James Ward. You work at the cloud people, the AWS, the old cloud ranch,
Oh,
right?
hi, Josh. It's good
Yeah.
to see
Hi.
you.
Good to see you, buddy. I'm just so excited. You and I, look. You said, hey, let's make Spring AI and Amazon Bedrock work, and I'm like, it probably already works because we got the Spring AI team. That's what they do. They make things work. But I didn't know,
Yeah.
and I didn't
And
realize what a cool thing the Bedrock story was.
yeah, it was cool. And we got stuff working.
Yeah, I mean, it was the whole thing, the whole demo, everything from.
Everything.
By the way, who has? How come we haven't done like? How come nobody's done the like RAG, retrieval augmented generation, and then all the way to Agentic, and then called that talk from rags to riches? Come on, like.
I think I actually proposed a conference talk with
No,
exactly that title.
you're
It got
kidding.
declined. No, I'm serious.
Oh,
Yeah. From rags to riches. Yeah.
is there any way
Yeah.
I could have known about that and I just subconsciously just stole it from you, or is that like
I'm
decent
sure
timing?
that we are not the only people that have thought of that.
Oh, that's even worse. That's a worse. I would have liked to imagine that I was part of rarefied air here, but no, we're just the obvious. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Look, I've made a whole career on striking on the obvious, so I'm not going to stop now. Anyway, so we did the whole thing. We did.
Yeah, let's give a little teaser because there
Yeah,
is going to be a video that goes through your amazing live coding.
you're amazing.
You crushed the live coding.
Eh.
It was solid, and it was working on Bedrock, so that was cool.
You know why it was solid? Because there's so little of it. Like if it's hard, I don't do it. Right? Like we have our friend Matt Rabel. I remember all those years. Like he's only 10 years older than I am, but he looks like he's 120 because of all the JavaScript. Right? He spent all that time writing. Like he did live coding Angular apps on stage from zero, which is
Oh my god.
you.
And he's been replaced by the AI now, unfortunately. Now people just vibe code that.
Well, his name. I mean, it's only going to get worse. His name is Matt Rayable, right?
That's right.
Yeah, he's already
Yeah.
filled in. Maybe he was a bot all the time. Maybe it's the journey is about the friends we made. It's not about the friends we made along the way. It's about the AI and the vibes.
So it's funny, but one of my stipulations, like if I'm working with a new product, new API, new something, I'm always thinking like, I'm not going to be able to live code this on stage, and therefore it is a bad product.
Right. You and I talked about. You told me this. This is a thing I remember. You were at LightSafe, TypeSafe, Lightbend. You were. I forget it. I think it was still TypeSafe when you were there, right?
Yeah. Now they're just Akka.
Oh, they changed it to just Akka.
I think
This
it's
is a
a Sun
Sun
name
You
because
remember
they
Sun
were.
had the stock ticker as just Java, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not great. That could be a problem.
Yeah.
It's just Akka?
I think they've had 5 company names because
Wait.
there was Jonas Bonaire's company,
Oh, right.
which was like Akka Solutions or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then there was Martin Odersky's company called Scalable Solutions. And when they merged, it became TypeSafe.
Right.
And then they rebranded to Lightbend.
Right.
And then I think they just recently rebranded to Akka.
To just Akka. That's cool. I mean, that's a great group of people. If anybody can change the world, it's those
They're
people.
amazing. They are amazing.
Yeah. And there's a lot of sort of in our mutuals, the set of friends that you and I both have. There's a lot of overlap that are
Yes.
come and gone from that. It's a small ecosystem. This is the thing that people don't realize. There's I don't know, maybe 100 people,
Yeah.
unique people that you and I will bump into in most of our shows.
Yeah.
I think now that you're at AWS, maybe you're going to AWS shows, so it's a different Venn diagram, different circle in the Venn diagram, and
I went to reInvent, and there was like tens of thousands of people there, and I met all of them. It was amazing.
Does that explain why you have a cold?
This was like back in December.
So
and yes, I did get sick.
So, well, and Amazon says that, and people say Amazon doesn't do open source. Come on, it's right there, open source colds. No, that's AWS reInvent is an enormous planet-sized thing, and same thing for VMworld or VMware Explorer or whatever, and these curly bracket code adjacent conventions,
Yeah.
But anyway, all that to say that I think if you look at the JVM, the core of the JVM community, there's, I don't know, maybe it's 100 people.
No, I think you're right. Like it's a pretty tight group of people.
Yeah. And we all kind of see each other over the years. And sometimes people, like right now, Rabel's not, strictly speaking, deep in the heart of the Java community like he used to be. He's doing security, but he'll be back. He'll always, look who comes crawling back.
That's right.
They always do. He's at CrowdStrike, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's great. Like, I love that I can talk to people like you and Rabel and learn things about Spring and Java, even though, strictly speaking, it's not the only thing you're doing these days.
Yeah. So we got this thing working, and we'll have the code and the video and all that stuff coming out soon.
Yeah.
But should we just describe what we got working?
Well, yes, but I want to start with, it wasn't vibe coding. The goal of a good demo is to make it look like it's vibe coding, right? Like we just figured it out. But I'm sick of that term. I'm so sad. Like I'm so sad to see people like banding around the idea that they just don't know what they're doing as a feature. Like, just stop it.
I mean, I don't know what I'm doing a lot.
Yeah, but there's not a name. It doesn't sound cool. You like it. Oh, just say you don't know what you're doing. That's fine. Like exploratory coding. It sounds cooler. I don't know. Vibe coding. What does that mean?
Vibes.
Yeah. Come on. What does that mean? What is I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, like scratch or have a sprint or whatever. I mean, come on. There's so many other words. Whatever. We didn't vibe code it. We knew roughly where we wanted to land, and then we just got there. And it wasn't like a.
So would you say we weren't feeling the vibes?
I mean, it was in the old sense of the word. Yeah, well, stochastic. Like one of my favorite things to do when I used to have free time was stochastic journeys. Right. So you land in a city, you go to an intersection, flip a coin. If it lands on heads, you go left. If it's tails, you go right, or whatever. Pick a convention and then do it, and just see where you land eventually. And
Huh.
I didn't know what I was doing though. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
I said I don't know what I'm going, and I'm okay with losing time. Don't tell me your approach is the most efficient way. From here to there, right? A straight line is the most efficient way.
So much wandering around. It's like I have no clue where this is going to lead and how I'm going to get there. Yeah, and now you and I are in a sick twist of fate. We're old men yelling from the cloud. So I'm gonna drop my curmudgeonly, crotchety, shake of the fist position posture. Yeah.
Okay, so we built this thing, and it was a Spring AI app. It was the goal was to build a Bedrock app. I really wanted to see that in action, and
like almost like a Bedrock agent kind of thing. Like it's what could we take something that in the space of essentially enterprise integration and build it in the AI agent first way. And we did. And it's using Bedrock for LLM services, a couple of those. And and then,
They just released the 0.8.0 MCP Java SDK today.
I submitted a pull request to that repo because I found a typo when I was working on our stuff. It was a pull request with just like one word typo. But then your buddy, who's your Christian,
Yeah.
he closed it and said, "Oh, this code is on the old version, and we're going to be releasing 0.80 soon, and this code's going to go away. So I'm closing your pull request." I was like, "Dang, I wanted to have a contribution to the to the Java SDK."
Oh, I'm sure he'd love to have it. I love that guy. Christian
He's
is
amazing.
he's amazing.
He's just like crushing
that
it.
guy's a machine. That guy is,
He's
uh,
knocking it out of the park. So I've done a bunch of this like agent programming stuff, some in Python, because when I was diving into MCP, Python seemed like the path of least resistance. And so I built the MCP servers, I built an MCP client, and it's pretty low level. Like at least I was using the Anthropic APIs and then the MCP APIs, and the MCP server piece was pretty straightforward in Python. But then when I got to the MCP client piece, oh my God, the amount of munging of data structures that I had to do manually was just obscene. And so when you showed me Spring AI a couple weeks ago when we were at DevNexus, I was like, oh my God, this API makes my life so much easier. I don't need to touch Python again. So that's a positive thing.
Python's nice. Just not for the MCP stuff. We can do better.
I mean, they can create, and they will create abstractions in the Python world, and they probably exist. It just wasn't in the area that I was, dabbling.
I would argue a really Scala idiomatic API would ideally be the final form, because what we want is every context clue possible about the shape of this method. You want as much, every nauseating detail about this callback.
Yeah.
These services, these tools that you export needs to be there. And what better, richer type system than Scala, right? So in theory, that would be like,
yeah, and you could have a macro that would generate the OpenAI or OpenAPI schema stuff for you, which I'm sure that already exists. And I haven't even looked in Spring AI with the MCP stuff. Are they doing the schema export? They must be.
It's all, it just works.
Exactly. That's the nice thing is, like, now with Spring AI, I don't have to know how it all works under the covers. I just like at the super high level API. That's great.
Even the new 0.80, which reflects a lot of like improvements and refactorings to the types, it didn't break most of our code. I think the MCP, the export might change a little bit, like 3 lines.
Yeah.
And it's just if it was like sync MCP, maybe it's now MCP sync or something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever. Easy stuff.
I'm super excited. So that means there'll probably be another milestone build of Spring AI at some
point. Oh yeah, as the day becomes night, there will be Spring AI.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
But why Bedrock, James? Why not that instead of just like an Access database? Like I don't know. Why did we use it? So we did. This was my journey, right? You've already walked this path, and it was a lot more fun for me because you were just
no, I'm new to all this stuff too. Like I didn't know what embeddings were. I didn't know how they worked. Like, so I was new to a lot of that stuff. So I'm still learning Bedrock. Bedrock, I think, is a massive thing.
Enormous.
Lots of features, and we were just using the models. Like, we weren't, there's probably many other things in Bedrock, but we were just using the models. And so we had the chat model, which we were using the Amazon Nova Pro model for chat. But then we had to have the embedding model, and we used the Cohere embedding model.
And did we have to write custom implementations of interfaces in Spring AI?
No, it was all just built in. Everything just out of the box. Start.spring.io. Yeah.
Before we even had a question, before we could even formulate the question, Christian and Dr. Pollock gave us the answer. It was already there. It was just like, just use it. Yeah. So good. And so
I bet that Christian moves so fast because he vibe codes all that.
Actually, one thing, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. He creates diagrams. He's one of those people that will
starts with the UML. Just like thinking UML, and then he gives the diagram to the AI and says,
"Sure, vibe code it, baby." Code it. I want just you're making it. No, he
instead of English as the vibe coding input, he just gives diagrams.
Just roll with it, AI. Okay, come on. No,
I mean, you literally can give a diagram to
Oh, I know.
the AI and have it write the code for you.
But good
based on the
luck.
diagram.
No, he does. He's really, really, really good about. And you know who else does this? Jürgen Holler. Jürgen Holler. You know, lots of smart people. Who's that guy? Thomas Jefferson? No, was it Benjamin Franklin? He said if I had you know, was it Lincoln? I don't know. Who's the guy that suggested I'd spend most of my time just thinking about the problem before actually doing it, right?
I was going to say exactly that, is that once you have proficiency in writing code, the writing the code part becomes not
Trivial.
that's like the getting it into code form. That's the easy part. It's the thinking about the problem and how you're going to solve it, and the data modeling and all that stuff. That's the hard part and the thinking part. And
it's the most expensive part too.
Yeah.
So you do it cheaply and quickly on paper, and it's much more efficient that way. So this is the opposite, friends. If you didn't see this, if you didn't understand what just happened here, you looked at the title of this YouTube video and you're like, oh, Amazon Bedrock, James freaking Ward, AWS, all that good stuff. But no, the message here is don't do vibe coding. This is the opposite of that.
Vibe code and diagrams.
No, you don't. You put the diagram together. Big design up front. Let's go, UML.
Whatever helps you think about the problem and do the thinking well. And for some people, maybe that is natural language.
So vibe diagramming, we're okay with.
Yeah, vibe diagramming is all the rage. Like that's
the way to do it.
That's what the really smart people do.
Yeah, that's what that's our message to you here is don't vibe code, vibe diagram. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, like
vibe diagram. Don't vibe code.
Be like Christian and Jürgen and smart people. Don't just start writing code haphazardly and hoping for an outcome. It's a tremendous waste of time. Anyway, and I could take my own lessons, you know. I mean, I sit there and I know roughly where I want to go. But this is the difference, though. When I'm working in a domain I don't know, right? I won't just sit. I'll sit there and like read documentation. I'll sit there and take notes, and then reduce or winnow down that list to the point of things I want to actually have ideas about, and I'll look at classes that make sense, and then I start writing code. You know, it's never just I'm in the forest. I'll just start walking in every direction and see where I go. You know, it's sort of where's my compass? You know, I don't know. Oh, it's so frustrating. Kids today.
Well, luckily with the thing we built with Bedrock, I didn't have to actually learn Bedrock.
No.
I mean, sure. Like if you want to learn Bedrock, great. But you wrote the Spring AI code.
Oh, right.
And you'd initially used OpenAI for model or something.
Distinguished competition. We don't have to.
Well, yeah, I mean, whatever you use is fine. Yeah. But what's cool is that we didn't have to change anything. We just like swapped the model and plugged in our AWS keys, and boom, it worked. So that was cool.
That was really good. That was the portable service abstraction. You know, Spring Team got the good portable service abstraction game.
Yeah. We changed the dependencies, but yeah, I mean that.
Yeah, it was good.
So that it's nice having those abstractions, though.
Yeah.
And Bedrock provides a bunch of models and abstracts over them. So.
Well, that's exactly. It's like a llama. We have one dependency for like Bedrock, and then another for the embedding models via Cohere. But either way, we've got the core interface that gives you, you know, you have so much optionality here if you set up Bedrock, because you set up Spring AI, you get the implementation of the interface, which is all you're going to work with. You're going to work in terms of the core interface, the embedding model, and the chat model. Behind the scenes, in fact, you won't even use chat model. You'll use chat client, which in turn uses chat model. And then that gave us access to Bedrock. Well, what is Bedrock? It's a gateway, a proxy, an aggregator, a facade in front of a bunch of other models. And you can go to the console and make that decision there.
You enable your models you want to use in the console, but then there's a Spring AI property that tells it which model to use for chat.
Yeah.
And then I think there was a default to Cohere, because we didn't ever set that.
Yeah.
But so they must have defaulted to the Cohere embedding model. But I'm sure there's a setting if you want to use a different embedding model.
So you could take the same code that's in production, override the environment variable, you know, and now you've got a new configuration. You haven't recompiled the thing, you know.
Yeah.
The power of optionality. Bedrock is cool. I was really nice, and it was the one we used, Nova, super fast. I remember just being like, "Wow, okay, this gave us our results," because you and I were like riffing on the best test. You know.
Yeah, we were
Evaluator.
vibing. We were vibing on our
Vibing, yeah.
tests, and
Yeah.
we were vibe testing, and we we came up with the idea at one point because we were like, oh, I don't want to have to parse this output from the
No.
LLM. Let's just ask the LLM if our test is
Yeah.
like, instead of writing a testing code, let's just ask the LLM to validate our test.
But that's called an evaluator. We knew what that was. We were heading towards it anyway. See, again, I don't think we're truly vibing. But nonetheless, it worked, right? It was super fast. That Nova, you could get it. I don't know. Is it supposed to be?
We were just running our test loop over and over again.
Yeah, but you can do that because it wasn't painful to sit there and wait. It wasn't like cycling WebSphere every minute. It was just hit the request and half a second later it shows up. It was faster, I think, than a lot of the I don't know. Is OpenAI that fast? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Is OpenAI like a bigger model that does more but at the expense of speed? Because that's often a trade-off.
There are trade-offs, yeah, that you have to make.
Nova felt very, very fast, and it did the demo. It did everything we wanted it to do, which is RAG and system prompts, user prompts, all that. It even had that extra feature that I don't know that I've seen before. When we did tool calling, it gave us that thinking.
Yeah, it gave us the thinking outputs. But then you figured out how to system prompt to tell it to stop thinking. Or stop
announcing.
Stop telling us you're thinking. We just assume that you're thinking.
If you're not doing that, then what are you doing? You know? No. Every time that happened, I imagine like a Peanuts style word balloon over the data center. You know? Like
does your definition of the word thinking include what an LLM does?
Well, I don't understand thinking enough, but I know that the LLM arrives at better decisions than I do sometimes. So I don't know if it's not called thinking. I don't know if I can call what I do thinking either.
Yeah.
Not always. I don't know. It's surprisingly efficient at some kinds of thinking. There's also this. This is the other thing. This is the agentic, because it doesn't. There's like there's what's called one-shot. Sort of model requests, right? And given just a single request, can you get the most useful response? Can it take what you want and arrive at the finish line? Probably not. For simple stuff, yes, like what's 2 + 2 or what was the first president, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to like more involved analysis, you start getting into this chain of thought kind of work. And this is a part of the
those thinking blocks in Nova Pro were the chain of thought.
Yeah,
that it was giving you its chain of thought. Yeah.
And this is all like, but you can also, basically, you can iteratively prompt the model to
make it think harder.
Yeah, to make it harder and to force it to flesh out. So basically, in effect, you rubber duck with the model. You vibe code with the model.
Yeah.
And so I guess if people thought that this was a video about how you should not vibe check, then you were fooled. Okay. This is actually about how you should be vibe coding. And I'm glad you're watching this video.
We should talk about MCP for a minute.
Oh, it's so good.
It's pretty cool. So with the MCP server that we built for this demo, we had a scheduler service that we wanted to expose to the LLM. And one of the cool things that you do is you define the tool description, because that's how the LLM knows when it should call the tool. You define the tool input parameters, and you give descriptions to those. And so in our case, it was like, I want to schedule to adopt this dog with this ID in this location. And so then when the LLM goes to call the tool, it then takes what it knows and puts them into those parameters. So what I'm curious your thoughts on is, in a lot of the work that we do in the enterprise, it's integration. It's like wiring things together.
Everything.
And
glue.
One of the challenges with that is getting inputs and outputs to align. And if you throw an LLM in there, you no longer need to care about that, because it's going to figure it out for you.
It'll figure it out. It's the ultimate adapter. Also, Glue Enterprise Edition. That's what I want. That's the new spec from Sun that I would like to see. So yes, that's what I keep thinking about. That I do think about that a lot, because so much of the complexity. I think about SOA, not microservices, because microservices was
you're talking about good old web services with SOAP.
Well, I mean, microservices. What is SOA, right? SOA is centralize the service so that I can reuse it. right? I can federate it. I can share it across the organization. And that's it. That's the sum total of what you want out of SOA is to centralize and just DRY, do not repeat yourself, like over the network stack, right?
Yeah.
But then microservice comes along and it's SOA plus we want to go fast. So we embrace technologies that enable velocity, right? So I'm not talking about microservice. Let's just keep it away from the organizational agility discussion and focus on, I want to centralize logic. I want to keep it one place and just point other things to it and link against it over the network. And so MCP gives you that. But what are the big problems that fall out of using SOA? You've got like, okay, well, I've got two different SOA services. How do I get them together? And if your answer is enterprise service bus, get out. We don't want you here. Leave now, right? So there's that.
MCP is like the enterprise service bus that is going to not be a pain.
Right. It's what about schema? I don't want to do WSDL, right? Like I don't want to care about that. What about concurrency? Again, all of this stuff goes away because the model, just like you said, and also adapters, adapting one schema output to one schema input, all of that goes away because the model is just does it. You know, it knows about how to do things concurrently. It knows how to do, adapting.
One of my teammates, Duan.
Hi, buddy. I think we've met before. I think he and I have met.
Nice. Yeah. He's
rad. Yeah. So
MCP is pretty cool, and the fact that Spring AI just supports it with just so easily, it's pretty nice.
Pretty nice, and not just supports it. We were the third SDK, out of the gate. The very first one from Anthropic, and then there was one in Kotlin, and then we came out, and obviously. So, that's what I'm saying. Just today, there's a 0.8.0 release for the Java SDK.
For MCP.
Yeah.
That's great. I love it. It's so easy to write these servers, plug them in. We started with the server. We started with a tool that was not even an MCP server. And so we were just calling the tool essentially in process. Yeah. Right. That was how that was working. But then, like you're saying, we wanted to SOAfy it. And so then we MCP-ified it to SOAfy it so that then we could do the remote call to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Natural. You can write a tool literally at tool in your method somewhere, local tool calling. And then you want to okay, let's move that out over here. Great. Now it's a service. And by the way, now that it's a service, you can do Spring Cloud Gateway for proxying. You can do Spring Authorization Server for OAuth and IDP stuff.
That's what's cool is you embrace the whole Spring ecosystem. You don't have to throw it all out to do this stuff.
Just HTTP.
Yeah.
And
you can use standard I/O, but I like the SOA perspective on all this.
I don't think they even have the spec for MCP has a discussion around security, for example, like Auth-Z, and there's not even discussion for standard I/O because how would you, right? It's all OAuth and HTTP, that's. So for people who don't know, when you're doing, if you've got an MCP service, the service can speak via standard I/O. Basically, one process on the machine sends messages to standard in to another process, and then we read from standard out from that same process and back and forth. That's the communication. Why is that fun? Because it means you can't have the Spring Boot banner, which makes it evil. Okay, so
I was just reading that in the docs yesterday that you have to turn off the banner because you can't standard out it.
I will not stand for this.
Okay, there is an alternative. You could ask the Spring team to have an option to output the banner to standard air instead of standard out, because you can output to standard air.
Doesn't that cause an exception?
No, it's just it's.
Do you think we should have a default auto-configured MCP endpoint that returns the banner?
Yeah.
In lieu of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because I'm not okay with the banner being gone. This is why I prefer not to talk about it. But you're right, that does exist. Standard I/O is the default. If using Anthropic Claude desktop.
Yeah, they only support today the standard I/O. And this is because a lot of the servers that have been built today are for local development uses, and so if you want a Postgres MCP server so that your agentic coding thing can talk to your Postgres database, I'm still not sure why you'd want to do that, but apparently
you can have it. You can give it knowledge of your tables. There's actually one for JDBC.
Yeah,
just you can point it at any SQL data store, and it'll say, okay, here's the tables, the metadata. Write a SQL query for me, and it can do it. It's really good.
Okay.
I saw one the other day. So all that to say, James and I are excited about this because it makes it easy to centralize your business logic and reuse it. And of course, your JVM services are going to be the beating heart of most of your organizations. Therefore, this is a big opportunity. But it's not just us. There's this freaking huge. There's a whole cottage industry of. Do you remember the old SOA, aggregators for like UDDI, Universal Directory, whatever?
Yeah, you're right. There's already registries for
Dozens.
MCP servers,
and they in turn contain hundreds of other MCP services. So you can just they're like you can just pick them, add them to your shopping cart, download them, use them right now, right? And you can talk to them from. So even if they're like a command line thing, you can use it in Spring AI. You can have Spring AI act as a client to an MCP service written in Node or Python or C or whatever, right? And I saw one where people
it's
were.
weird that this MCP thing is going to be the thing that makes SOA and UDDI and all that old stuff actually be viable.
Viable. Okay.
Viable. Oh my God.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. Like it because all that stuff it's gone, thank goodness, dead and buried. But we get the results finally. You remember?
Do you remember part of the reason why web services and all that stuff kind of failed was because there was do you remember the WS Splat attempts?
Yes. Yeah.
So they attempted to define a schema for, let's say, a healthcare medical record.
Oh.
And they got all these people together and we're like, let's all work together and define one schema that's going to work with every enterprise system for a healthcare record. Okay. So obviously that never worked. And now with MCP, who cares what the schema is? Like the LLM's going to figure it out.
I'll get the data that I need.
Yeah.
I saw one where you can use, there's a MCP service where there's a synthesizer / music production app that you can drive remotely, I guess. I don't know how. And there's an MCP service. So now you can actually say, hey, create some jazz music. It'll in turn drive this music production app that's running on the same machine and create pitch perfect jazz music, right? It's awesome. There's one using Blender.
I saw the Blender
one. The Blender one, 3D modeling. I want to render a house.
3D model, yeah.
What? Come on, this is so cool. And yes, if you want, you can create it. We have one on Tanzu. We have one you can manage your Cloud Foundry clusters and stuff like that, right? I think
so exciting. I want to vibe code I want to vibe IAC. I want to just control my infrastructure with vibes.
Right.
Vibe ops.
Yes.
Vibe ops. That's the future.
Sure, dude. Vibe ops. Okay, I think we just discovered the next thing. Vibe ops. Let's go. Okay. Watch as the NASDAQ just plummets, like at the very idea. Please don't do this. Please. Vibe ops. Is that a thing already?
Don't know.
Okay, I just put that out there.
I got to go pick up my daughter from school in 5 minutes.
Imagine?
So, do we want to cover anything else?
Use Bedrock. It's good. It works nicely with Spring AI. You should use Spring AI too.
Yeah.
Build.
Oh, and you know what? I need to do some Kotlin for this because we did Java. And Java's fine.
Yeah,
but
can I join you?
Yeah, we should do a Kotlin version or something of it.
I gotta get my Kotlin GDE back. They kicked me out, right?
Oh, they kicked you out?
Yeah, because I didn't do enough public-facing Kotlin stuff last year, even though all my code privately was. And I was like, they dropped this on me right as I was going for vacation. I'm like, you've got 3 weeks to file a. I'm like,
you did not say Kotlin 12 times last year.
Yeah, it's like December 19th or something, and I'm like, I'm out the door. I'm going to the islands. This is not the greatest time to remind me of that particular deficiency. I'm sure they were more indulgent than I'm making it sound. But anyway, I want to regain my GD status, please.
I hope you do. I remembered one other cool thing that we figured out was that we could take our MCP server and we could native imagify it.
Oh,
so again, another great thing with Spring is you get native image just basically out of the box. And so it works, and it started up, what did I say on my machine? It started up in 0.05 seconds was the startup.
15 milliseconds.
Yeah.
For a web service. Which, by the way, it's a little harried, but if you're following, we've got the standard IO and we got the HTTP. You could build a desktop app that is a GraalVM native image, so it's just a single self-contained static link binary. You point Cloud Desktop or something like that, C-line, cursor, or whatever, you point it to that static binary. Then the binary acts as a client to an actual HTTP hosted MCP service. So now you can keep your business logic and your proprietary stuff on the cloud in the behind OAuth and stuff, but then your desktop app can talk to the client server thing, that runs on your local machine as a GraalVM native image, right? Thank you, James. It was great to see you.
Thank you. It was so fun writing some code with you over the last couple of weeks, and we got everything working. And so, yeah, we'll have the video and code out soon. And
are you on the internet? Do you want to be found? And if so, where can people find you?
Oh, that's a good question.
Are you on Blue Sky yet?
I am on Blue Sky. Yeah, I'm jamesward.com on Blue Sky. Oh, this is a fun story.
You're not really a cowboy.
I'm still a bit on Twitter, which it's still called Twitter to me. I'm still on Twitter a bit, and because of the exodus of Twitter, going back, my handle on Twitter was _James Ward, because when I joined Twitter, I thought Twitter was so dumb at first. I was like, why are people using this? So I didn't use it. And then I was, the RA cowboy. And then at some point I'm like, I probably need a better brand on this thing, on this social thing. And so then I switched to _James Ward, because of course James Ward was taken. But because of the exodus from
it's yours
Twitter,
again?
Well, it never was mine, but I was able to change my handle on Twitter to be just James Ward, not just James Ward, James Ward.
Yeah.
So I got James. Now I'm James Ward on Twitter, which so I was pretty excited about that. And then LinkedIn and all those things. So what are we seeing? Works on my machine to start 5 months. Yeah. Oh man, that's great.
So that's great. So at James Ward, and then jamesward.com on the Blue Skies. And LinkedIn, of course. That's a pretty. I think YouTube and LinkedIn are the S tier social networks at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I should mention I have a podcast. Which
Happy Path. That's a great podcast.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Bruce,
you should call it the Vibe Path.
Yeah, I'll talk to Bruce about renaming it.
I'm sure he's gonna be like, no,
because it is kind of in the same vein. Happy vibe programming. Yeah, that's it. And I recently finished writing a book.
Another one?
Effect-oriented programming. Well, just one. It was like last fall. So
I think we had you on the show to talk about that one, didn't we?
Did we?
Or at least we had Bruce.
Oh, that's right. You had Bruce on at the Dev to Next conference. You had Bruce on to talk about the book. So so that was fun. So that's all my stuff.
You're great. I'm a big fan. Keep it up.
No, I'm a big fan of you, Josh. Thanks for working with me on that fun Spring AI.
We'll let the audience know when that video comes out. I'm eagerly waiting for it. And okay.
Bye, everybody. I'm gonna go pick up my daughter and start the weekend.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. Have a good weekend.